Hey guys, welcome to my full review of the Samsung Galaxy Note 9. And the Note 9 I've got here is the Exynos version with 6GB of RAM and 128GB of storage. Speaking of storage, the Note 9 comes in two storage options, the 128GB model which I've got. This one comes with 6GB of RAM, but if you pick up the 512GB model, that one comes with 8GB of RAM. And from my experience, 6GB of RAM is more than enough on Note 9 even when you're gaming and multitasking. The phone will never ever lag or slow down. So 6GB of RAM is more than enough, but if you've got money to blow up, then definitely go for the 512GB model because that 8GB of RAM will be sort of more future proof with Android Pie just around the corner. And we also have a micro SD expansion slot. The Note 9 supports up to 512GB of memory expansion, so if you are picking up the 512GB model, you can have a total of 1TB of storage in your phone. Yeah, in your phone, 1TB. You couldn't even imagine that 10 years ago. Now let's check out what we get inside the box. By the way, in some countries, the clear case is not included as a part of the accessories, so don't worry if your box is missing the clear case. So we've got a Samsung adaptive fast charging charger, a USB Type-C to regular USB adapter so you can connect a wide range of devices like keyboard, mouse, external microphone, AKG headphones. These are awesome by the way. USB Type-C cable, tweezer to remove the tip from the S Pen, and there are two extra tips inside the box in case the one which is installed breaks somehow. Extra earbuds for your earphones, and a clear soft case, and I kind of like this case. It's thin, fits perfectly on the phone and does not make the phone bulky at all. So first, let's talk about the design. The Note 9 has Gorilla Glass 5 on front and back with an aluminum frame that surrounds the phone, and it almost has this monolithic design feel which kind of gives the phone a premium and expensive feel to it. And one thing you might want to know before you buy the Note 9 is its size and weight. After all, it's a big and heavy phone. It weighs 200 grams, but it still has this relatively slim profile at 8.8mm thickness. And mind you, the Note 9 has a relatively big battery, 4000 milliamps, with wireless charging and a stylus that also has its own charging system tucked inside the phone. More on the S Pen remote functionality later. And this is not a phone which I would like to keep in my pocket if I'm sitting down for more than 10 minutes because it does get a little uncomfortable after a while, especially if you're wearing skin fit denim jeans. But this really depends on person to person. Some people might want a smaller form factor phone and some people might be totally fine with keeping a big screen phone in their pockets. I'd rather keep my phone on the table than in my pocket while I'm sitting down, and when you're standing up, it's not really a problem. It's totally fine. And the Note 9 is actually very comfortable to hold in hands thanks to those rounded corners. I am coming from the Sony Xperia XZ Premium, and this thing is about the same size and dimensions as the Galaxy Note 9, but because of its sharp corners and big bezels, it kind of digs into my palm, and that makes the phone very uncomfortable for texting, and I have no such problems with the Galaxy Note thanks to those tiny bezels and rounded corners. But I think if you're planning to buy the Note 9, then you probably know what you're getting into, and bigger the screen size, more productive real estate area you get to play with the stylus. Both the S Pen and the Galaxy Note are IP68 certified. IP means ingress protection. It is like a universally accepted measurement of varying degree for dust and liquid resistance. And the rating of IP68 means that the phone is fit enough to withstand dust, dirt, sand, and submersion in fresh water up to a maximum depth of 1.5 meters, up to 30 minutes. So no worries if the phone gets wet in rain, although I would refrain from dunking the entire phone in water, as Samsung will not give you warranty on a water damaged phone. But an occasional spell of rain, or if you have spilled water on your phone, you should be okay. But really, I would keep such an expensive phone away from water. Now, if you compare the design of the Galaxy Note 9 with the Galaxy S9 Plus, you'll notice that it looks a little bit bigger and more sturdy. Although there's not much difference between the size or the construction between these two phones. It has something to do with the curves, because if you look close, the Note 9 is more conservative on the curves compared to the S9 Plus. Even the screen of the Galaxy Note 9 is less rounded compared to the S9 Plus. And I feel this is a good thing because that gives the Note 9 slightly more screen area on the corners as compared to the S9 Plus. And overall, the size of the screen is only 0.2mm bigger on the Note. Also, when I hold the Galaxy Note 9 in my hands, I get that super solid industrial rugged feel, which was kind of lacking on the Galaxy S9 Plus, which felt a little bit more fragile. One thing I would like to tell you guys is that I have medium-sized hands, and the position of the fingerprint sensor on the Note 9 is such that sometimes it is out of the reach of my finger, and it took me almost 3 to 4 days to get used to this. It's perfect on the S9 Plus, but here it's really not. I can already imagine the difficulty someone with small hands would have in reaching all the way to the location of the scanner, but I feel the best position is still the side-mounted fingerprint scanner like on old Sony phones, and this is one of the reasons why I prefer using intelligent face recognition, which combines the iris scanner and face recognition. It's fast and quick, works even in complete darkness, and you don't really have to reach all the way top to the fingerprint scanner. And then there's this awkwardly placed Bixby button. So whenever you hold your phone with your left hand, your thumb will always rest on this button and you might accidentally press it and launch Bixby. I have had this problem a couple of times, especially when I'm taking the phone out of my pocket using my left hand. I kind of accidentally end up pressing this button and launch Bixby. So yesterday, Samsung has pushed out an update to Bixby, and this brings an option to change the behavior of the Bixby button. So if you find yourself accidentally launching Bixby all the time, then select the second option called press twice to open Bixby. So now you'll have to press the button twice to launch Bixby, and this solves part of the problem because if you long press the Bixby button, it still launches Bixby voice. And I wish there was a way to disable or remap this button without the need to download third-party apps. I mean, how cool it would be if you can press this button and launch the music player. Samsung really needs to make this change on their phone to remap the Bixby button to whatever app the user wants. So all said and done, I love and adore the Note 9's industrial design. I think it stands out from ever-growing sea of notches, jackless phones, and iPhone copycats. Now let's move on to the display. The Galaxy Note 9 has a 6.4-inch Super AMOLED display. In simple terms, it's just an organic light emitting diode display, or OLED. The AM here stands for active matrix, and the Note 9 continues the trend of slightly wider aspect ratio of 18.5:9, and this is a step in the right direction because taller screens gives you much more screen area than traditional 16:9 displays. Because of the taller display, you have slightly more visible screen area, and you can probably tell by looking at this little comparison. And believe me, this is the best screen I have ever seen on a smartphone, and because this is an OLED screen, it produces deep colors, infinite contrast, and even the 4K HDR LCD of my XZ Premium, which has arguably the best LCD screen, looks washed out in front of the Note 9's AMOLED display, especially the contrast. Blacks are 100% blacks, unlike on an LCD where blacks appear bluish gray. That is because the backlight is bleeding through the pixels. This does not happen on an OLED display because the pixels on an OLED screen produce their own light and there is no separate backlight required on an OLED screen. So you get that surreal lifelike deep blacks. Also, because of this, OLED consumes less power and there is no color shift or image degradation when you view it from an angle. You really have to see it in real life to believe this. The screen is also seamless. There is no ugly looking notch, so that's a plus point for me because I'm not a huge fan of notches. I'd rather have the top bezel than have a notch on my phone. And it's also worth noting that the Note 9 screen is also HDR10 capable, and this thing is meant for media consumption. Especially if you watch 4K movies on this thing, they look fantastic. And the screen is also super bright at maximum brightness. The sunlight visibility is awesome. Out of the box, the screen resolution is set to 1080p, and I highly recommend that you turn the resolution up to maximum, which is WQHD Plus or 2960 into 1440p. It improves the sharpness of the text and high resolution photos. Because this is an OLED screen, you get a feature called Always On Display, which shows you basic information like time, date, notifications while the phone is asleep. And to spice things up, Samsung has included something called edge lighting. So whenever you get a call or notification, the entire edges of the screen lights up and it looks beautiful. And yes, this phone also has an RGB notification LED. Also, some people tend to say that AMOLED screens are prone to image retention or burn-ins. While this is true, it will never happen in the course of normal use of a phone. You see, I have this Nokia Lumia 730 from 2014 and this is quite a well-used phone. I've watched movies on this thing, watched TV shows, texted my friends, and it has the same AMOLED display, and so far so good. There are no screen burns on this. The only phones I have come across with screen burns or image retention are the ones at the retail stores, the demo phones which are running the screen at maximum brightness almost 12 hours a day. So unless you go into overdrive with your phone, you don't really have to worry anything about image retention or screen burn-ins. Just enjoy the superior image quality and infinite contrast that AMOLED screens have to offer over traditional LCDs. Now let's talk about the software. Out of the box, the Galaxy Note 9 runs Android 8.1 Oreo. Android Pie is coming soon, don't worry about that. And on top of Android Oreo, Samsung has installed this custom skin called Samsung Experience, and this adds a ton of features to the stock Android. Now initially based on negative feedback from rival brand fanboys, I got convinced into disliking Samsung Experience, but whatever negative things I've heard about it are actually not true. In fact, over time I have started liking it to an extent that I don't want to go back to my Xperia, which is stock Android, because Samsung's version of Android is just so full of features that you won't find on regular stock Android. Like this multi-window multitasking thing. This allows your phone to do true multitasking with more than 2 windows open simultaneously, and the Note 9 has enough power and RAM to multitask efficiently without any lags. And then we also have password protected secure folder, ability to install 2 messenger apps on the same phone, super cool edge lighting notifications, fantastic always on display, and the ability to extract text from images. And then take this Bluetooth dual audio feature. This allows you to play the same music over 2 Bluetooth devices or 2 different headphones. The list is endless. Well, maybe Bixby can be an exception, but I'm not really a fan of having personal assistant on a phone. Overall, my experience with Samsung software has been pretty positive up till now, and you guys already know I also use the Samsung Galaxy S9 Plus, and it's been about 6 months. This phone has not given me any problems. Also, I have not experienced any application crashes or any software hangups, so everything is just perfectly fine. Since we are talking about the software, let's quickly go over the performance of the Galaxy Note 9, because in the past Samsung has been well known for having lags, random hangups, and just a poor software experience. But I feel all that has been fixed and I haven't had any problems with my Galaxy Note 9 or the S9 Plus, and I've got the Exynos 9810 processor with 6GB of RAM, and during the time I've been using it, I haven't experienced any single software crash or lags of any kind. Same goes for my Samsung Galaxy S9 Plus, 6 months of use, no issues at all. I've played heavy games like PUBG, Fortnite, Need for Speed, and Asphalt. All of them perform without any hiccups and the frame rate is smooth, although it looked a little bit choppy in my gaming video because the camera I used records in 4K at just 24 FPS. And you guys already know you're watching this on YouTube. So I think over the years Samsung has made a ton of improvements to their software integration with Android, and I think the time when Samsung customization used to cause issues are all behind us. The Galaxy Note 9 has a healthy capacity battery of 4000 mAh, and I can easily stretch my usage to 2 days with about 7 to 8 hours of screen on time. Now I did a battery life test and I was able to extend the screen on time to about 11 hours, but that's really pushing it, and don't really expect that kind of screen on time with your Galaxy Note 9. And for an average user with normal use, I'd expect the screen on time to be in the ballpark of about 7 to 8 hours maximum. So I am quite satisfied with the battery life of the Note 9, and it charges pretty fast in about 1 hour 42 minutes from 0 to 100%, and wireless charging takes slightly longer at about 2 hours 37 minutes, but that's still very respectable considering you're charging a 4000 mAh battery. The Stylus or the S Pen is really the unique selling point of the Galaxy Note 9, and this is not just a stylus. The S Pen on the Note 9 has Bluetooth built in that allows it to function as a remote. And the Bluetooth functionality on the pen is powered by a little supercapacitor, and the way you charge it is by inserting the S Pen into your Note, and it charges within 40 seconds and gives you about 30 minutes of usable time. And the remote functionality is actually pretty cool. You can use it as a remote shutter button for your camera. Then you can also use it to do slideshow in the gallery, and this even works in PowerPoint presentations. And if you long press the button on the S Pen, it will launch any app you set it to in the settings. And by default, if you long press the button, it launches the camera. And you should really check out that video where I explain each and every feature of the S Pen step by step. And yes, of course, it functions as a stylus. Very handy to take quick notes or to draw something. And I've said it before, this phone is meant for content creators. Coming to the camera, the Galaxy Note 9 has the exact same dual camera setup as was on the Galaxy S9 Plus. Both the cameras are 12 megapixels and secondary camera is a 2x telephoto camera, and both of these are optically stabilized. But the main camera, the one in the middle, this has dual aperture feature which controls the amount of light that enters the camera. You can select a wide f1.5 aperture for low light and portrait shots and a narrow f2.0 aperture for bright daylight shots and landscape photography. And this shift between aperture happens automatically, but you can do this yourself when you are in the pro mode in the camera. Oh, and by the way, I have noticed that the zoom camera does not work in low light. The phone just uses primary camera to digitally zoom in when you press the 2x zoom button whenever the camera senses that the light is too low. And the Note 9 does not have a front LED flash, but you can use the screen as a flash while you're clicking selfies in low light. And you should really check out my 22 awesome camera features of the Galaxy Note video. That video goes more in depth with the features of this camera. Coming to the picture quality, you can't really fault Samsung here. Even in low light, the pictures turn out to be really good with noise kept well under control. And this low light video was shot with the Galaxy Note 9. Take a look. Daylight pictures are excellent, there is zero noise, no loss of details, good color reproduction. Same goes for the front facing camera. Although the front camera is only 8 megapixels, the quality is very good. You have live focus for that sweet bokeh effect. This uses the secondary camera to defocus the background and the result is quite stunning. And for selfie background blur, you have this option called selfie focus, which also works quite well. Subject separation is good. But for me, the most outstanding feature was the ability to do manual focus while recording videos. The camera also records small clips of super slow-mo videos that are recorded at 960 fps at 720p. Then they're stretched out to 30 fps, which gives the video that slow motion effect. But to record in slow motion, you need a lot of light and natural light. And this auto mode is awesome. It detects motion automatically and times the shot for you. So check out some of these clips that are recorded on the phone. The Galaxy Note 9's camera also records in 4K 60 FPS, and optical image stabilization is available even while you're recording in 4K. But to be honest, I have never ever recorded in 4K even on my Galaxy S9 Plus, and I have had 4K recording ever since I bought my Xperia Z3 Compact back in 2015. And in my honest opinion, 4K takes too much of space and my computer struggles to play 4K videos, so that's why I like to stick to 1080p, and I don't really have a 4K monitor, so it's totally pointless for me to waste space in recording in 4K. And anyways, I'm gonna share the video on social media, so I just stick to 1080p. Has wider compatibility and can be played on even less powerful devices. But it's good to know that Galaxy Note 9 does support recording in 4K 60 FPS. The Galaxy Note 9 has stereo speakers. The earpiece speaker plays the higher frequencies and the one at the bottom plays lower frequencies. And these speakers are loud. And what I absolutely love about them is that even at maximum volume, the sound does not distort and the sound quality is very good. The sound is rich and there is a lot of depth to it. Now, hearing this over YouTube does not do justice, but still, take a listen to this. In 2018, a lot of phone manufacturers seems to have copied Apple and have gone jackless, and it was really sad to see even Sony ditching the headphone jack in their XZ2. And I do expect this trend to continue and more manufacturers will ditch the headphone jack, because once Apple comes up with something, everyone seems to just follow, and same goes with the notch. And because of the headphone jack, you can straight away plug in your favorite headphones or connect the phone to an external amplifier, no need of any dongles. And software enhancements include Dolby Atmos. I always keep this option turned on because it makes the sound rich and full. Audio quality is without a doubt top notch on the Galaxy Note 9. It is also worth noting that the Galaxy Note 9 has a dedicated heart rate monitor, and you can check your heart rate inside this app called Samsung Health. Now this is pre-installed on your phone, and this app also counts your daily steps, so it's a great little phone if you're into fitness. Alright guys, so this brings me to the end of my review. So my concluding thoughts are, I love how Samsung has retained the headphone jack, even though there is a full-size stylus that fits inside the phone with its own charging system, because the S Pen has Bluetooth and is powered off a supercapacitor, which charges when you insert the S Pen into your phone. Really, there is no wasted space here. A notchless Super AMOLED display, huge 4000 mAh battery with fast wireless charging, iris scanner, fingerprint sensor, face recognition, fantastic camera, micro SD card slot, loud stereo speakers, and the latest Samsung experience over Android, which has every feature you could wish for. I think all this makes the Note 9 the most complete phone of 2018 and the king of smartphones for 2018 and early 2019. Thank you for watching, and as always, hit that like button if you like the video, and do subscribe to me on YouTube. Follow me on Instagram and on Facebook for more content, and I will see you guys next time.